Hi, I'm Jameis. This is Regular Networks, and I'm going to be making a video about the Juniper vQFX instead of GNS3. It took me a while to make this video. I was having a lot of difficulty out of it, but I think I've managed to resolve most of it, and I'll share what was going wrong. So let's get started. Looking at our screen, to do our vQFX, we're going to go to this page here. I'm going to include this all down below. Well, I'm not going to include a link to this page. This is just their landing page. To actually get a vQFX from Juniper, you have to be registered with a trial account. You may need to contact Juniper support if you have an existing account and it won't work. Alternatively, you can create a new account. I have an account that's set up for Juniper tests because I have a JNCIA and recently got the JNCIS SP, but my account tracks all that and tracks who I am, but I can't get evaluation downloads because that's a thing. So you can either contact Juniper support, which is what I did in the first time, and this time around I figured I'd try a different way and I just registered a new account. So I went ahead and registered the new account and that took care of everything for me. Anyhow, there's always more than one way to skin a cat. So we're going to go to this page. If you aren't registered, you're going to register here, and you're going to select you want to register for a trial account. Let's see if I can walk you through that real quick. Yeah, this is going to be more complicated than I thought it would be. Anyhow, once you registered, we're going to come over here to select vQFX software. We're going to select one to download. They have several versions available right now. Let me move this microphone a little closer. There we go. They have several versions available right now. 20.2, 19.4, and 15.1x. So if I understand correctly, 15.1 is a standalone image. 15 point, it's kind of up in there. I know 15.1 is a very stable image. It's also a very old image, so I'll not be using that one. I tried to use 20.2, and I tried with 20.2 for several months, and I could never get it to work. I saw where other people were able to get them to work, but I couldn't. I even re-downloaded the images, and we're still unable to get them to work. But there's other people in forums, and even in a couple links that I'm going to publish down below this video where people were using 20.2 successfully. I can't tell you why. But that being said, we are going to be using version 19.4. This is the version I recommend downloading, and this is what I got to work successfully. So let's go ahead and download that. And, I've already got it downloaded, so we'll go and open GNS3. All right, cool. So now we've got GNS3 open. First thing we need to do, well, we don't need to, but I'm going to have us do this anyway. We're going to create a new project. I'm going to call this project vQFX Lab. Cool. We got a new lab project. Let's go ahead and start importing that vQFX. We're going to install on the GNS3 server. We're going to, it's probably a good time to mention, I am running a GNS3 server. Let's see if it'll tell you which version I'm running. We'll go to about, okay, I'm running GNS3 2.2.34, and I'm running on Proxmox 7.0. And my GNS3 server is a Ubuntu 20 point something server. I've got links down below, and this will be part of a playlist if you want to see how any of that is set up. That being said, let's go ahead and install this sucker. Let's get a new template, install an appliance on the GNS3 server. We'll look for vQFX. So this comes in two parts. You have your routing engine and your packet forwarding engine. Unlike the VMX, where the routing engine is the control plane and the packet forwarding engine is the data plane, this one's kind of flipped. The routing engine is the data plane, and the packet forwarding engine is the control plane. I think it's because the routing engine will do both, but to do strictly layer 2, they offload that onto the packet forwarding engine. I'm not entirely sure why, but I'll show you a little bit about that here in a minute. Let's go ahead and start with the routing engine. Select Install. Install appliance in the main server. Standard libraries. All right, here we go. So I said I only got version 19.4 to work right here. That's what I downloaded, 19.4R1. So we're going to add a new appliance here. I'll show you how to do that. Do create new version, and we're going to change this to 19.4R1. There we go. And then, because this is the routing engine, let me grab the name of this other file. This is the name of the new routing engine file. Add those back in there. And now we'll have the option to import it. So I'm going to go to where I have these downloaded. Select there. It's a pretty decently large file, about 600 and 700 megabytes. They're both about the same size. This one's 659, the other one's 744. While that's downloading, let's see, what else do I have? Well, that won't take long to download, so we'll let it download anyway. So you can run a vQFX in two modes. We have light mode and we have full mode. Light mode runs with just the routing engine, and it'll only do layer 3 stuff. I'm going to demo that for you here in a minute. Light mode's cool because it'll do just layer 3. I haven't played with it too much, but as far as I can tell, it's functionally the same as a VMX or even a Junos Olive image. But it runs pretty well. And then we have full mode, which requires the routing engine and the packet forwarding engine. And if you're going to do anything layer 2, you're going to need full mode. All right, so we've got that there, ready to install. Let's go ahead and install that sucker. We're going to tell, yep, we're going to install. That's it. The appliance has been installed. So let's go over here and take a look at how this thing works. So there's my routing engine. We're going to create 2 virtual PCs, PC1, PC2, connect these to EM3 and EM4. Start everything up. Now this thing's going to take a minute to get running, but let's go ahead and decide what we're going to label everything. We're going to give this one address of 10.0.0.1 and this one an address of 10.0.0.2. Right. Let's go ahead and console into these. 1, 2, 3. All right. So we're consoled into the QFX, PC2, and PC1. We'll go ahead and set the IP addresses of both of these devices. Awesome. So one thing to show you about the vQFX, we're running it in light mode right now. One thing to show you is if we do a configure, come over here under network, all your adapters are labeled EMs, so EM0 through EM11. So EM0 is not of any use. EM0 is going to be your management interface. EM1 is your EM1 interface, which you use to communicate with the packet forwarding engine. EMT is unused. So EM3 is really your first usable interface. So EM3 through EM11 are your usable interfaces. When you're running in light vQFX mode, the interfaces are going to be labeled by their EM numbers. So that's why we're leaving them here right now. There's no real need to do anything else with them. So we're just going to leave that for right now. And we're going to watch this thing boot, which takes a while. You know what, while this thing is booting, let's go ahead and install the RE, the routing engine, or the packet forwarding engine. So we're going to do the same thing we did as last time. I'm going to select VM, vQFX. You can tell where my brain is. Packet forwarding engine. We're going to install on the main server. Standard library. All right, we're going to have to do the same thing here we did in the last one, where we have to create our own new version. So I'm going to create a new version. I'm going to call it 19.4R1 because that's the version I have. All right, and the name of this file is going to be, there we go. There's the new file. Let's go ahead and import it. Cool. While that's importing, just for the sake of showing what my environment looks like, I made another video on my servers if you're interested. That's down below somewhere. I'm using Proxmox. Using Proxmox version 7. I've got it listed. Yeah, here we go. 7.0/11. I don't run Proxmox updates, but I run Debian updates. I run Proxmox updates. I run Debian updates, and I've got, you can see, a decent amount of power on here. Here's the actual virtual machine we're using for this. It is Debian. No, it's Ubuntu. Yeah, here we go. Ubuntu 20.04.5 LTS. Yep. So that's what we're using. I know where there's some issues with Proxmox version 7.1. I don't quite remember what those issues were, and I never really want to upgrade to it. I'm still running the Ubuntu system updates though, or Debian system updates, so it's all fine. All right, so now the vQFX PFE is ready to go. We'll hit next. We'll tell it, yep, we're ready. We'll go ahead and install. vQFX PFE has been installed. All right, so we're back over here to this light, and it's finished loading. So we're going to log into the light version. Password is root. Username is JUNIPER. I'm going to put that up on screen right now so you can see it. That's what the default credentials on these are right there. Root and Juniper. And once we get here, we're just going to do a CLI to switch into CLI. And we can do a show int. First, let's make this full screen, see it better. And see, everything here is going to be this EM stuff. So you can go ahead and run EM just like it's anything else. And you can do family INET, and you can do family INET 6, and you get all that fun stuff from here. That's not what we're here to do today, but I figured I would show it works in this capacity if that's something you want to do for whatever reason. I'm sure there's reasons to do it. I just don't think there are any for me. So I'm going to go ahead and shut everything down. We're going to delete that vQFX. All right, so now I've shown you how to do this in light mode. I'm going to show you how to do this in the full mode, in the standard vQFX. So I'm going to start by configuring the packet forwarding engine. RAM and vCPUs are fine on this one. Some people say they need it higher. I tried playing with it higher and didn't really see any difference. So I'm going to call this fine. The only things we need to change in here are under the network. I'm going to configure the interface adapters. EM0, we're going to call FXP0 because that's our management interface. And EM1, we're going to leave as EM1 so that we know to connect those two between the PFE and the RE. So we're good here. We'll do OK. Now on the routing engine, it's going to be the same thing, same story about RAM. And I've got some articles I'm going to link to where some people had to blow their RAM out of proportion to get this to work at all. And some people, it just worked for them. So I guess it's one of those things of either it's going to work or it's not. That being said, the network on this one's going to be a little bit different. We're going to do XE. So once this thing fully loads, everything's going to be some variation XE 0/0/ open close brackets 0. FXP0. Okay. So what I just did wasn't exactly necessary. I don't even know if it'll work. Oh, nice. It does work. Cool. All right. So adapter 0 is going to be FXP0. That's our management network. Adapter 1 is going to be EM1. We connect EM1 from the routing engine to the packet forwarding engine. Adapter 2 is going to be unused, so we're just going to call that EM2 for right now. And then 3 is going to be EM0 or XE0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to update all those to reflect that. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, cool. That should be all the renaming we need to do on these. So I'll go and OK this, and there we go. At this point, our vQFX is installed on the GNS3 server, and we're ready to roll. So I'm going to show you your first vQFX lab. Should be pretty straightforward. There's a lot of waiting, though, just to prepare you. I might pause the video if I run out of things to talk about while we're waiting. Usually takes about 4 or 5 minutes, depending on how much power you have. And, let's see. I'll see if I can't show topology summary and server summary. There we go. This should give us a good idea of how much system resources this actually uses. So we'll set up the routing engine and the packet forwarding engine. Connect EM1 to EM1. We connect our PCs on XE000 and XE001. All right, with that, we're going to start it up. See, I'm using about 25% of this virtual machine right now. See how much system resources this thing have. It's got 8 CPUs and 16 gigs of RAM. And what did I say? So we're not really using that much RAM. We're using less than 1.6 gigs. I think 1.6 gigs would be 10%. So we're hovering around that. We're half of that. We're 5, 6, 7, maybe 800 megs of RAM. So it's a reasonable amount. It definitely is a lot more than you're going to see from a Cisco device or many other kinds of devices. These are just power hungry. It's a thing. It's what they are. If you're going to run a lot of them, and the same rule applies for the VMX appliance. If you're going to run a lot of them, you're going to want a machine with a decent amount of power. All right, there we go. So this is actually the packet forwarding engine. It runs Tiny Core Linux. There's not really any reason you need to be getting into the packet forwarding engine. Everything we're going to be doing is from the perspective of the routing engine. So we can close that. And now for the hurry up and wait game of waiting for the routing engine to boot. Remember, once it boots, our username is going to be root and our password is going to be Juniper. If you ever need to see that for reference, there's always a handy guide where if you go to configure, look at usage, it's right there for you. Same thing on both of these. All right. Let's watch this thing boot. I'm going to look at my notes, make sure I'm not missing anything. Here's a couple of notes I have. In vQFX light mode, most data plane features are not supported and all packets are processed in the kernel. Family Ethernet switching is not supported in the light mode. In full mode limitations, which is what we're running right now, only a few features are not supported due to some architecture differences between the vQFX 10,000 and the real QFX 10,000 hardware. Unsupported features include analytics, guest virtual machines and guest containers. Guest virtual machines and guest containers. It looks like that's about it. All right, looks like we're still in the long boot up process. So while we're doing this, and I don't think I'll make a video about this just because I don't have much need to. There's another project called Vagrant, which I don't know too terribly much about, but I'm learning about it. I'm actually taking a class where we're having to use Vagrant. This is a vQFX you can run inside of Vagrant. You can just launch it on your local machine. I think this is more if you just want the vQFX. If you don't want to play around with the lab, you just want to see what the machine itself is like, and that's it. This is supposed to be a good way of doing it. They've got installation guides in here. They talk about full mode and they talk about light mode, which is what I was talking about earlier, and that's where I take these these terms from. Full node requires the routing engine running Junos and the packet forwarding engine. It's also got the light mode. It's got characteristics in there. It's got the light mode. It's got characteristics in there and a whole bunch of good stuff. If you're interested after this video and want to read more, this is a good resource, and I'll have it linked below. All right, looks like this virtual machine's ready to go. Let's go ahead and log in. Remember, the username is root. The password is Juniper, capital Juniper. All right, and we're in. We're going to do CLI into the CLI on this thing. All right, so to verify that the routing engine is communicating, oh yeah, it does that. Don't know why, it's fine. So to verify the routing engine is communicating with the packet forwarding engine, we're going to do show chassis FPC pic-status. All right, so there's nothing there, which means that sometimes the two communicate, sometimes it takes a while for the two to communicate. I've seen it take upwards of 5-10 minutes depending on how limited your system resources are. It's all fine. We're going to give it just a minute. Before this thing communicates, if we do a show int terse, you'll see that everything's EM1, EM10, all that good stuff. Yeah, I'm still recording. So a great way to test connectivity is, I'm connected on EM1, 169, 254.02. So that means if we ping, 254.1, it'll be the other side of that connection. So what you want to do here is EM1, INET, you want to grab your INET address and go down one address. The routing engine is supposed to be the higher number, the packet forwarding engine is supposed to be the lower number. So 169.254.02 is our routing engine, 169.254.01 is our packet forwarding engine. These are non-routable addresses, and they're not private addresses either. So that's probably why they're there. The 169.254 subnet, I believe, is reserved for an IPv4 link local scope. It's the equivalent of like an FE80 whatever in IPv6. It's some cool stuff. So looking at our pic-status, we're still showing up blank, which is fine. I'm sure I got something else to talk about while we're waiting. See, unsupported features. Okay, cool. I'm going to talk about powering off one of these virtual machines for just a minute. So if you try and power off this virtual machine from the GNS3 user interface, like using this button here or by right-clicking and hit stop, you're going to cause issues. Junos, when it's paired like this, doesn't like it. It kind of freaks out. I'm going to link to an article about that. Well, not so much an article about that, but a discussion on the GNS3 forums about this particular issue. The best way to shut this machine down is with a request system power off command. I'm going to put that on the screen. It's the best way to shut this machine down. If you request system power off and then let the whole thing shut down, then you will not have to worry about anything. you will be totally fine. You can, if you do shut it off in advance and you do mess it up, you can kind of recover it. The command for that is request virtual chassis reactivate. You do request virtual chassis reactivate, and then you wait until you see all your XE interfaces show up in your show interface terse, and your line card is the only one that's connected. The reason for this is the packet forwarding engine is going to see one line card, one PIC card, and that PIC card is going to be your routing engine. So when you shut it down and bring it back up incorrectly, the forwarding engine is going to think that you've added a second PIC card. Now, the first card that doesn't exist anymore is going to be in the master state, and the card you just created is not in the master state. Well, you can only make changes from the master card. So to do this, you have to deactivate and reactivate both, and then it takes everything out and it kind of rebuilds it. So you lose your config, but it gets it back kind of. This is what really threw me for a loop, and part of the reason it took me so long to make this video. It's weird, but the short and long of it is request system power off. Do that every time and you will be fine. All right, cool. So like I was saying, this is going to take a while. Now when we do a show chassis FPC pic status, we're going to see that in slot 0, pic 1 is online. It's going to be this 48X 10GP SFP plus, blah, 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 blah. It says 48X, but we can't run 48 interfaces on this at once. I think it was listed in here we could run, it was like 12, yep, up to 12 data plane interfaces are supported. So we can only run 12 interfaces on here, not 48. But, 12 should be enough to get the gist of what you're doing. And if you need beyond that, you can always spin up a separate instance of this and just run it beside it. As far as I'm aware, you can't run multiple routing engines to one packet forwarding engine. I may be wrong, and now that I'm saying it, it sounds like I'm wrong. You should be able to put a switch in between and connect everything to EM1 of the packet forwarding engine, and then just change the EM1 interface to an unused address in that stroke 24 subnet. I may be wrong. I can make another video on that. If people want to find out, it'll take a while for me to figure it out. But for my uses, I don't think I'm ever going to find a use for it. I don't really know if I'll have a use for the vQFX. I have one Juniper switch, and it's not even in production. It's on the wall. It's kind of sitting behind me. This is the extent of my Juniper switching infrastructure, and it's never been used. So it's on my list to play with, but it's never been used. All right, cool. Your mileage may vary. If you experience something different, if you have different insight to this than me, I want to hear them. I want to hear it. My motivation for trying the vQFX is I want to try VXLAN. It's not something I'm using, but it's something that I could definitely benefit to implement on my network core. VXLAN's cool because it combines what's the word I'm looking for? It's where you slice things up into different little groups. Anyhow, it allows you to separate traffic like VLANs, but you can do it over layer 3 routed infrastructure, which means you can easily route around failures. Most data centers now are getting away from routed infrastructure, and they're preferring, or they're getting away from layer 2 infrastructure, at least spanning trees. From what I've kind of been gently told, is spanning tree is a no-no in the year 2022, and you want to get as far away from it as you can as far as the data center and ISP networks go. But for enterprise networks, it doesn't really matter. That's neither here nor there. It's a completely different tangent, but yeah, just one of those things I've been thinking about, and it's always nice to share that. All right, let's stop, make sure we're still recording. I've been going for a while. How long have I been going? All right, half an hour. Nice, longest video yet. It's okay. I feel like I've gotten a lot of good I feel like I've gotten a lot of good stuff in this video so far. All right, so our routing engine is set up. Our pics are online. Everything's installed. So let's look at it. Let's do a show int terse. And look at that. There are now XE interfaces. These XE interfaces weren't there before, and they're not going to be there until the packet forwarding engine agrees to work with the routing engine. So XE is interesting. XE in Juniper stands for 10 gig, I think. GE stands for 1 gig. So other people, they're putting GE this, GE that. It's actually XE. XE will make your life a lot easier. That's why if we come over here and look, all these interfaces are labeled with XE interfaces and not GE interfaces. A little weird nomenclature, but it gets the job done. It makes life easier. So let's set this up to pass some traffic around real quick. So we're going to go configure. I like doing configure private. Juniper recommends doing configure private, especially if you're on a device with multiple people. The nice thing about configure private is your candidate config file is going to be different from somebody else's candidate config file who is working on the system at the same time as you. So that way, somebody's not in the middle of setting something up and all of a sudden you commit their changes and it breaks whatever they're working on. The only downside of configure private is that if somebody else is in global configuration, you cannot start a configure private. So you just got to get up, knock on the door and say, hey, get out of there. It's also really nice to me because I work in a lot. I make Juniper videos, but all my stuff's hybrid Juniper, Cisco, Ubiquitous. And in Cisco world, to do anything, it's conf t for configure terminal. So if I can just transpose conf t to conf p, it's the same to me. It's easier to remember. I'm already there. My fingers are doing the same thing. I know P and T aren't next to each other on the keyboard, but they sound similar, so to my brain it works. But that's a real problem I have is I will accidentally put in Juniper commands on Cisco's and Cisco commands on Junipers and Viata commands on Jupiter's and the whole 9 yards, and it just won't work. Anyhow, that's just one of those nice little things. All right. So configure private. All right, first thing I'm going to do is we're just going to delete everything with an XE in front of it and everything with a TE in front of it. You didn't see any of the TEs, but they're down there. We don't need any of that configuration. It'll actually get in our way. So let's do a wildcard, which is a really cool thing I just learned about. With wildcards, you can delete a whole bunch of stuff or modify a whole bunch of stuff inside of Junos at once. All right, so we're going to do a wildcard delete dual interface XE00. That's going to delete everything, all 336 of those. So we're going to do yes. All right, so we're going to do interface TE -00. Whoops. Oh, okay. Show interfaces. Oh, ET. Okay. So we're going to delete everything here that begins with ET because we don't need any of that either. So let's do show interfaces now and bada bing, bada boom. That's all we need. All right, cool. So I'm going to show you how to use the wildcard again to set up the new interfaces that we're going to need. So we're going to do wildcard range set interfaces XE-0/0/0 through, and how many interfaces did we have on here? We have 11. We have 8. XE000 through XE008. All right, cool. So we're going to come back here, 000 through 008. All right. What did I do wrong? I need to do some brackets. Okay, let's read this guide real quick. This is a really cool feature. I want to make sure I'm getting it right. because I just learned about it and my little brain was like, what? That's so cool. All right. Okay. Third time's the charm. If this doesn't work, I'm just going to call it quits. Okay, yeah, okay. Well, that's not going to work. Shoot. Oh, well, I was really hoping that would work. Yeah. Let's try this second article, see if this is where I read it. Yeah, this is where I read about this. XE0 through 8. Oh, I see what I'm doing. 0-8, unit 0, family, Ethernet switching, interface, access. All right, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to change it to vlan members default. Commit. All right. Cool. Let's just show our interfaces. We got our config, unit 0, family Ethernet switching, interface mode accessed, vlan members default. Yep, and that's all we need. So let's go ahead and do a commit and a quit. All right, so we should be set up. Let's come out here and I'll open a console back to our virtual computers. Console into that one. Console into that one. All right, so from here we're going to be ping 10.0 to 0.2. All right, this ping's going to fail and I'm going to show you why. So these things aren't sending out any traffic on their own, so they're not automatically populating the MAC address table on the Juniper until they send out their pings. So if we do show ether switching table, there we go. We see both their MAC addresses now. So we should be able to ping across, ping 10.0 to 0.1. And we have response from 10.0.1. We're going to ping back, ping 10.0 to 0.2. Ping 10.0 to 0.2. (10.0.0.2), correct. So it should be working, and I'm not sure why it's not. It's not too big of a deal because we can get connectivity from one side to the other, and I guess that's all that really matters. All right, cool. Power off, request system power off. Always do request system power off or you're going to have a bad time. So just to show you how to do that, we're going to do request system power off system, yes. System is going down. All right, cool. That is it. How long did I go for? All right, almost 40 minutes. Nice. I hope this video has been useful. I'm Jameis. This is Regular Networks. I'll probably trim this down. I might not. I feel like I've been all over the place in this video. At the same time, I feel like it's been a bunch of great material. If you made it to the end, congratulations. I'll try and upload more. I've been trying to make shorter ones recently. Recently bought a microphone so I can record in the office in my free time. Yeah, that's it. I've been Jameis. This has been Regular Networks. Thank you very much.